Glenmorangie, the original 10-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. Love it or leave it. Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. Greetings, my whiskey curious friends. Welcome to Whiskey Whistle, your wise choice in independent whiskey and spirits reviews. I'm the host, Mark, and we're going to be looking today at Glenmorangie, the original 10-year-old. Now, this is a whiskey that probably everybody sees on the shelf, and some people look at it and think, it's 40%, it's 10 years old, it just sort of sits there and blends in the background with a lot of other big brand single malt Scotch whiskeys. Anyway, let's check it out today and find out if you should be reaching for this bottle for your collection, all right? Now, I poured this already as part of my top 5 go-to everyday whiskeys here on Whiskey Whistle. So that'll give you a hint as to the way I'm leaning for this one. But first of all, let's check out the color of Glenmorangie, the original 10-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. That's a mouthful, isn't it? All right, so let's check the color out, shall we? Okay, so what do you see there for color? Now, to my eyes, this is pretty much a standard light amber or a light gold color, something like 10 karat gold perhaps. And I'm told that this has very little, however, does contain, of course, E150A to blend out the batches and make sure that they always look like this. There's a lot of variables that go into making whiskey, and unfortunately, whiskey went down that road of thinking that the color of the whiskey was something that was part of the brand. It really shouldn't be. They should allow it to have a little bit of color variation so that people can say, hey, this is natural and it's just a bit different than last year, and that's okay. All right, and now let's check the legs out of Glenmorangie, 10-year-old, the original. I like checking out the legs because it's a real visual enjoyment of the whiskey. And, for a product or for an activity to be supremely memorable and exciting, you need to involve more of the senses. All right, so let's check out the legs here. A little bit brisker legs in the beginning, but they certainly stay on the glass quite nicely. And reasonable striation, and it really does hang at the lip there. So that tells me that despite the fact that it's 40%, I can probably expect a mouthfeel that'll be at least juicy and perhaps even a little bit better than some others at this ABV. ABV, the alcohol by volume. Again, 40% ABV, 80 proof. I think in the American market they may get 43%, and how lucky is that? All right, so let's check out the nose of Glenmorangie, the original. The first thing you get is this slightly coconutty, slightly peachy, mandarin orange slices type of a scent. Orange slices, the candy. And if you had kind of like an orange vanilla pudding or a vanilla pudding with an orange sort of coulis on there, it would smell something like this. Now, it is such a potent nose. It's really volatile. It's much stronger than some of the whiskeys that I have right here on this row. And all of these, by the way, are above 40%. So don't think that 40% just means that it's going to be weak and thin and not worth getting. Just not true. At 46% ABV, I'll tell you that this would be overwhelming for some people. I think 43% would be the ideal strength, especially given its market position and price point. So 43%, add, I don't know, a couple of dollars per bottle, and you would probably have a lot more single malt snobs and single malt nuts getting a bottle now and again, because they know that Glenmorangie has a certain level of quality that's unmatched in some other big brand distilleries. By the way, Glenmorangie, I believe, is number 4 or number 5 in ranking in sales of single malt whiskeys, single malt Scotch whiskeys. All right, let's check out the nose again. I've been checking it out already. Yeah, there's a big vanilla there. No peat whatsoever, at least not noticeable to my nose. They do use a bit of peat at Glenmorangie, but such a small amount that it's almost undetectable, and I'm not smelling any here. I have had an older bottle of Glenmorangie, and that's my review number 2, and definitely a little bit of peat noticed there. All right, the palate. Cheers, everybody. It really follows through the nose. Vanilla cream, orange, maybe a little bit of toasted coconut, a little bit of orange marmalade on a light grain bread, so a little bit of graininess to it as well. And we'll talk about the finish right away here. And the mouthfeel really is a little bit juicy and mouth coating. Big finish, really big finish, much bigger than I remember. Big toffee and vanilla. A little bit of orange rind. And yet also a little bit of, again, that orange slice jelly candy. Just slightly dry in the finish, but not very dry at all. And overall, I would say this is a minimally dry, sweet Highland whiskey. And everybody that I've ever given a glass of Glenmorangie to, doesn't matter whether they're whiskey drinkers or not, all of them have said, I like that. Especially when they learn to take a smaller quantity of liquid in their mouth when they're drinking. All right, let's add just a little bit of water. Not very much, just a couple of drops. Let's count them. 1, 2. I think that was 3. All right. Now, how many of you have Glenmorangie 10-year-old in your collection? I know that absolutely most of you will have Quinta Ruban in your collection, and some of you who like the distillery probably have a lot of the private editions, and also Astar, which is their near cask strength edition, which is all first fill ex-bourbon. So that's kind of like, it's like this, but it's jacked up. I think it's a little bit older as well. Anyway, just curious, how many of you have Glenmorangie 10 in your collection? Leave me a comment. Okay, now the nose with water. That orange note is dampened. And all I'm getting is just very light coconut and a little bit of vanilla. Yes. All right, on to the palate. Cheers again. little bit drier. Even the finish is slightly drier with water added. For me, that's a good thing. If you don't like dryness, then don't put water in your Glenmorangie. Final taste here. My table's full. I guess I'll have to hold that one. All right, well, let's get on to the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Glenmorangie 10-year-old, the original Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. What is that going to be? Well, folks, I think this is going to get an upgrade. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenmorangie from WhiskyWhistle is going to get a WhiskyWhistle whiskey score of 90 out of 100. Yes, you heard right. 90 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for Glenmorangie, the original 10-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. It is so well made. The nose is so full and rich. All the flavors in there are luscious. There is nothing to detract from the flavor. It's got big oranges and peach and a little bit of that coconut, lots of vanilla, lots of caramel and toffees type of flavors. From nose to finish, it's a real nice, delicious whiskey. Definitely one that I would recommend, and I will definitely keep on my shelf, hopefully every year. But you know, me doing what I do, maybe not. But if I weren't doing this channel, yes, I would have a bottle of that all the time in my whiskey collection. All right, anyway, so hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for the next one. We're going to go in order here. So Evan Williams up next, then the Green Label, then we'll have Kleinlich and Tomaten 14 and triple distilled Auchentoshan 18. And some of these are re-reviews. In fact, re-review. I'm going to go with it because I've got it out. It's ready to go. So stay tuned. Okay, take care, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks for watching WhiskyWhistle. Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to give this video a like and leave a comment down below. Be sure to stay tuned next time to join me, the host of the show, Mark, as I explore more whiskeys with you. Take care now, and we'll see you next time.